Welcome back to another episode of What Are We Watching? All right, man. What's going on?
Hey, buddy.
Hey.
I feel like we just did this.
What?
Recorded. Yeah.
When did we record the
That
last?
was last week.
It's been a week.
It really wasn't. I don't know why. That was my opening line.
That was
That was it.
okay.
But how are we doing? What's up? How are we doing this week?
I'm fine. You know?
Okay.
No, we're good. Yeah, I don't even know. I feel like I had this whole. Ooh, I just bumped the table. It was a very uneventful week. It just worked. Watched some movies.
Same.
Yeah. What about you? Anything wild? How's you blew a hole through your finger the last time we recorded?
So you can see it now. I took the bandage off.
For the listeners at home, he's got some stitches in his little fingy.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Just five quick stitches. It really wasn't that bad. I was able to, against probably anyone's goodwill, was able to buy some cowskin leather gloves that I found at the hardware store.
Wow,
that looked blast resistant, and then
they were not.
No. This time I actually bought the gloves. So last night I was
they just weren't
back to work on the floor. No, I didn't have gloves or goggles the first time. Anyone
or tools.
Yeah, and I was also using an angle grinder of the floor with no cover.
That's good.
Yeah, I did everything the right way. OSHA would have been real happy.
Would have been thrilled.
But anyways, I went back
you don't
at
work
it.
For OSHA.
Put about 3 solid hours into it last night. Taking my life back in my hands. But I had goggles.
There he is. Yeah,
that would just
stronger than the storm.
Yeah, they would puddle up with water. I had to literally dump them out.
Great.
And I had some gloves on. I was able to shove this entire sling into the glove or splint, whatever it is, finger
on your finger.
And just crushed it.
And now we're here, recording again. So, what are we watching this week? What do you wanna give a little intro?
Yeah, this week we're talking Rocky. Wow, that sounds like Bill Conti himself was in the room.
Oh yeah, dude, we're very serious around here.
No, but we're talking Rocky Balboa. Well, sorry, no, we're talking Rocky, not Rocky Balboa. I guess we'll get to that, but we were talking Rocky 1976, the first of many Rocky movies, and just an excellent movie. I don't know. It's just I think this is we'll call it a classic. I think it's a classic. I think across the board,
It's a certified classic.
Whether you
give
like
it
boxing. Or sports
Sylvester
in general,
Stallone.
whether you just like being American or you don't even like being American, I think this movie's just awesome.
It's a good time for all. Yeah. So as you said, it was 1976.
1976. Yeah.
Starring the Sylvester Stallone,
the one and the
as
only
Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
Talia Shire as Adrian.
Oh yeah.
Burt Young as Paulie. Carl Weathers as probably one of the best characters, Apollo Creed.
Yeah.
Burgess Meredith as Mick, and I think those are kind of all like the main players.
Those are the main, and then I like to bring up Spider Rico.
Rico.
Pedro Lavelle. I think that's how you say that. He was actually a pro boxer.
Oh,
which is really cool. Yeah, he had an actual career. I mean, he was a heavyweight champ at one point, or he's at least He was doing something. Yeah, he was at least on the road to heavyweight champ. I think he was at one point. I get that mixed up.
Well, they also had this is like way later on. Joe Frazier was in it too, which I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, he comes out as we'll talk about it. Yeah, that's really cool.
That's when Rocky's like, I think he knows him.
They must be friends. Yeah, Smoking Joe, baby. But and then you also got Joe Spinell as Tony Gazzo. He's from The Godfather. Him and Talia Shire.
Incredible.
In The Godfather.
So should we dive it? Do you want to go over the plot? Should we do our usual?
Let's hit it with a little bit of the creation, like a little bit of how it comes to, because it's pretty cool. Because honestly,
how they made the
well, yeah, not like behind the scenes, but like I think it's really this movie is even cooler because it is kind of like a rags to riches story inside and outside.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. All right, yeah. I guess
just real quick.
The stage.
So this movie's written by Stallone. So he wrote this in 3 days, I think.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
But yeah, this movie's actually written by Stallone. He wrote the screenplay, and then United Artists was the production company. They actually wanted to buy it from him for like $360,000 or something like that. They offered him, which his current state was he had
like nothing going on.
Yeah, he had no car.
Yeah.
It says he had $106. I don't know if that's accurate. It
That
said that
seems like
you know,
a
I
very
read that
specific detail.
he sold his dog. He had to sell his dog because the dog didn't have a great life, and he needed.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah, it's really sad. And I read something that he was eating dog food. I don't know if that's true or not, but we're gonna go with that.
And that was just for fun. He didn't even need to.
But imagine being in that position and turning down $360,000 because
well, his whole thing was he wanted to be the main character, and a lot of the studios were like, we're not like super convinced you can read, so we're just gonna maybe pass.
Yeah. So that was the thing, is they're like, yeah, we'll buy it from you and that's it. Like, we'll buy the script and that's it. We're gonna do what we want with it. But he refused that. But they wanted it so bad that they finally, you know, I guess they gave him like $1 million budget or something, or even less.
Yeah, I think it was less than $1 million.
And I think they pay him $35,000 to play Rocky, but he also obviously gets, you know,
like residuals and shit.
Yeah,
like
so he ends up making somewhere like $25 million on this movie, but
he's doing fine
at that time. Like, that's a crazy move.
Yeah, that is a pretty good move.
So he's almost like playing himself in the movie, because at the beginning, like,
I don't know where did they talk about like how like the whole Philly thing came into play. Like, why did he pick Philadelphia and stuff like that?
Well, yeah, I mean, he was born in New York, but they moved to Philadelphia, him and his brother, like his family. So
I didn't know that he was actually like from the area. That's pretty.
So cool. I think they went to Lincoln High School, I believe, him and his brother Frank.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so I think that's why we ended up picking it. I don't know too much about why.
It just seems like a very specific place to pick. I don't know. But
then it's directed by John G. Oh man, my brain just sputtered.
John G.
Avildsen. I have it written here. My brain just like reset on itself.
Has he done anything else?
Well, he comes back for Rocky 2.
Yeah.
And then they bring him back for 5. And then he had done.
Oh, he did the Karate Kid movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did the Karate Kid. The Karate Kid trilogy.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
But
that's a whole other episode we could dive into. I love the Karate Kid. That movie's awesome. So I guess it starts. I guess it's very fitting for the start of the movie, because the first scene is him in a fight. It's like a dirty basement fight, and that's where he's fighting that guy Spider, right?
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you picked up on this. The first like 20 minutes, every single person he walks by is like, "You're a loser."
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, the one lady's like, "You're a bum."
Immediately after he wins.
Yeah. He literally won a fight, and this lady's like, "Yeah, not that impressed." And that's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's basically like, I think that's kind of cool that in his real life, I mean, I'm sure people weren't yelling at him in his real life, but I think it was very cool that it was, definitely some themes.
Oh yeah, that opening sequence is awesome. You get black screen, and then Rocky. It's almost the whole screen is Rocky. Just says it, and then it's goes right into the
dirtiest warehouse basement fight
with that giant picture of Jesus behind.
Yeah, I forgot.
And then they're fighting, and then it's kind of fine. You're just kind of soaking it all in. Well, yeah, it's nothing crazy.
It's not like a wild fight.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden Rico hits him with a cheap shot, and I can't tell if it's almost
he headbutted him.
He headbutted.
It was a headbutt. Yeah.
So he
busts open, taking a headbutt in a dirty underground boxing match.
He busts open his head, and then Rocky goes into full ape mode and just eviscerates him. I think he hits him when he's on the ground at the end. Like, he still hits him.
Rocky hits Spider,
punching him into the ground. Yeah, and then the fight's over.
And then they call it. So that's kind of like, I did enjoy. Like, it's been a while since I've seen like the beginning of that movie. I mean, everyone always be like, the training montage and the big fights and stuff. But they did a really good job of setting the stage about how much of a fucking loser this guy was, like, in his normal life, in his life. So he's at that fight. He wins. They pay him.
Yeah.
What did they pay him? It was
so
like
Spider
4 pennies or something. They were like, you have brain damage and you're still poor. Congrats.
So they shoot right to the locker room. They're in the same locker room. They just lost, and there's no animosity. They're just like in there.
Yeah, like they didn't even go to separate stalls. Like, they were just sitting right next to each other.
He's donning his awesome homemade Italian. Well, it's not homemade. It was Italian stallion robe.
Yeah.
And then I think Spider makes $17 and Rocky makes $40.
Don't spend it all in one place there, Rocco.
I do love how they start out. I think Rocky's supposed to make 60 $60-some, but then there's all these like
Oh,
fees
that-
and taxes that come out, and we're just like, holy shit, man.
It was like boxing fee, and you're like, he's here to box though, so
And
yeah, he does get screwed with
he's
that.
gonna have to get stitches, and then he's just like, yeah, when's the next fight?
Yeah, like all instantly into it. Like he's actively bleeding out of his ears, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm ready to go again." So that's then you go. So then he's leaving there. This is still all in like the first couple minutes. Like
Yeah.
all the credits are still like coming up. He's walking home, and this was another funny thing, which I hate. This was in the Jaws movie too. I brought this up in our second episode. He's walking by like a doo-wop group. Did you notice that?
Yeah, do you know who that is that's singing?
No,
That's his brother.
Was it
That's
really?
Frank Stallone, yeah.
Okay, because
He's
I was
actually-
like, why are all these movies like, all right, we need music on the streets. We need someone doing the extra mile.
Oh, yeah.
But that's his brother.
That's his brother, Frank
pretty
Stallone,
cool.
yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
What, is
so-
he a singer? Is he like actually a singer?
Yeah.
Should we go see him?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if you can go see him. But he's on all three, the first Rocky soundtracks. He has songs on all those.
That's pretty cool.
What else? I just looked it up to see what else he was on. He's on, I think he has songs, he has a whole bunch of songs in his movie Staying Alive. And I think has a song on Over the Top.
That's
which
amazing.
is another awesome movie. But yeah, that's his actual brother. And I have a note here by Frank and the Funky Bunch just walking by, singing "Take You Back."
Yeah, and he's like, hey, you guys are sounding better every day.
Yeah, fucking. That's what I love about this movie is it's all character.
Yeah,
There's just
it's
everything is character. It's
we talked about this even before we started recording. I could do a whole episode just on like the quotes that Rocky said, or the things that he mumbles at people is probably more accurate.
but that's what's so cool about this movie.
It's very
and
good.
I think it's hard to do. Like this movie is a boxing movie, sure, but it's definitely a drama first. It's like a
it's very
story of this guy's
serious.
life, and then he also happens to be a boxer.
Yeah.
And you get the cool montages.
He does it all.
Yeah.
He does it all. He's a writer. He's an owner of exotic animals.
Oh yes. Yes, he does have exotic aminals.
Aminals. So he's walking home. So then this is where these. So basically, you slowly get introduced to all the characters. So he's walking home, passes his brother in the doo-wop group. They're obviously killing it, and then he goes into the pet store for the first time, where you see Adrian, and she is. I don't know why. I don't know why they picked those glasses for her, but I just didn't like. She's basically ignoring him the whole time, and he's just talking at her. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. But
what does he say?
The glasses, though, it does it for me. Like, I don't know what it is. He walks in, she turns around, and just like, your heart just kind of does that, like, go. Yeah, I don't know. They did it perfectly.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, I worked for the Italian Stallion.
Oh
too,
yeah,
so.
we could do a whole episode on just Talia Shire,
and how we're big fans of her work.
Between The Godfather and this.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this she just kills.
She is great in
She's so
this
awesome.
movie. But they do the classic, which I do want to bring it up late, like when we get there. She does the classic, like, I stood up for myself, and now I have a whole new look. And you're like,
yeah.
damn, like,
Dude,
total,
she goes
total
from
180.
She goes from like being really
Yeah.
unsure of herself, shy at
Yeah.
the beginning of the movie, doesn't even want to talk to men. You could tell like she probably hasn't had the best experience.
Yeah.
To like at the end, sorry, spoiler alert before we get there, but like you're like, oh my lord.
That I did write it down when he's getting ready to go out to fight Apollo. I was like, what a 180 that her character.
Oh
pulled.
yeah, and it's great.
but-
They kind of both hit a
Oh
180,
yeah,
which is cool
because he's like, yeah, I got it, and you're like, I don't even know what you just said. So they're walking home.
You're talking
to
about
meet Adrian.
You're talking about the joke that he makes.
Yeah.
So he's
do
talking
you know
about
what he, well, I don't remember what he
So he's
said.
talking in his house. You meet Cuff and Link, his two turtles.
Yeah.
Hilarious. He's talking to them. He's
Unreal.
talking about Moby Dick. He's just who knows what the hell.
So this is after So he's goes into
This
the
is
pet
right
store.
before the pet store. So he's
Oh,
like,
that's right. He goes
you
home
meet them,
first,
and
yeah.
he's reading about the fucking pet food, about the moth content. So he goes in there and he starts like muttering to her like she has no interest, and he says that the moths get stuck in the back of their throats, and he has to smack them on their backs, and she's like, oh yeah, and he's like, you know what they call that? No answer.
Nothing.
Shell shock.
Big laugh. Pause for laughs.
And then
No laughs were had.
that's the first joke he tries to tell in this Rocky,
and it's not good.
It's not good, but I love it.
So he actually still has those turtles.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of cool. I didn't know he had a goldfish. I totally just forgot about that.
Is that Moby Dick?
That's the goldfish that he has, yeah. So he's like, hey, you guys want to go see Moby Dick? And then he brings over his goldfish.
Oh, that's what he's talking about. Yeah. Okay, that's
and then he
right.
sits, and I was like, I feel like you just like remember the turtles more.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because I remember him saying that. I'm like, what is he? But yeah, I don't know how my mind just decepted me there.
Yeah, I did have. So this is that after he comes home from the walk of shame, I'll call it. You see his apartment, and I had a note here that his decor is recovering from a house fire.
Oh yeah, it's rough.
It's not good. His coat hanger is a machete.
Yeah,
and I don't know why they did that.
He's got a machete there, and then like his hat hanger is like one of those like tactical knives with the brass knuckles on it.
Do you think that was a little homage to? No, Rambo was a lot later.
Yeah, Rambo's later. Maybe he was like
maybe he knew.
Maybe because he wrote that too. So maybe he's like he's like gearing up. He had that script going. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think he knew.
Later on, there's knives all over his apartment. There's one jammed in that like
Yeah.
mattress he has turned into a what's the word for it? Punching bag. Yeah. He has like a homemade punching bag made out of mattress, and there's just a knife slammed in it.
Yeah, he's doing bad. Is what we're getting at. So.
Yeah, he's never cleaned.
Not
never.
One time.
Like I looked at that and I'm like, damn, he's never cleaned.
Yeah, it looked like he actively threw garbage everywhere. He was like, you know what'll really make this place pop? A lot of dirt, and he did. So then it flashes forward to the next day. So you have that first awful interaction with Adrian. You kind of see where he's living and stuff like that. And then it flashes to him where you meet Mick. So it's the next day, and he's at his boxing gym.
Right.
And it seems like, you get the vibe that he's like there a lot. And then that's where you meet. Well, does he go? He goes into the locker room first, right?
Yeah, he goes into the locker room. You see him trying to get into his locker, and you're like, damn, did you just forget his combo? So then he busts the lock off.
He pulls the combination out of his little hat that he wears on, like, the grimiest piece of paper. And he's like, yeah, I think I had those letters right. And it's clear that it's not his. So, yeah, he just blows that lock right off clean off of the locker.
Yeah, you see a bunch of stuff that's not his, and then the manager comes in, and he's like, oh, yeah, that's Dipper's. And you're like, what?
Terrible name.
Fuck?
Yeah.
And then, so basically Mick,
the owner of the gym that Rocky is training at, basically.
And I think everybody remembers him as like, oh, it's Rock and Mick. They're a tag team. Like, they're inseparable. But Mick hates Rocky at first.
He absolutely hates Rocky.
He put all his stuff on Skid Row, as Rocky calls it. He's like, why'd you put my stuff on Skid Row?
He just
his stuff's just hang
it up on a bag. So the first line, like how much Mick actually hated Rocky. Mick's first line is, "Shut up, what do you want?" When Rocky goes, and Rocky's like, "Oh, excuse me, Mr. Mick, I'd like that." And he's like, "Shut up, what do you want?" And you're like, wow. He starts off very strong.
Oh yeah. And I think every line he says almost sounds like it's a quote because of what his voice sounds like.
He sounds like a cartoon character. It sounds like to life.
Yeah, it sounds like it could have been sampled
and learned to box
somewhere. Like you could have heard a song and it was in it. Then he calls him. He's like, "You're a tomato. You got heart, but you fight like a goddamn ape."
You're a tomato. I've never been called a tomato.
I don't want to be called one. I feel like that's just.
I'd be super hurt.
Yeah.
You're a tomato.
You're like
so stupid.
You can be turned into sauce. You're a decent vegetable. I don't know.
No.
But then there's a little foreshadowing here. He's like, "Your nose has never been broken."
Oh,
so he's
that's
like,
right.
So you're thinking like,
he doesn't think he's a real boxer because he's never had his nose broken.
To the average human, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, okay, but that's foreshadowing, right?
Foreshadowing. Dun dun dun.
But I do want to talk about his first interaction with Gazzo.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So when is that? So he. When do you first see him? Because I have like that he goes to the gym.
So it's right before that. It's right before the gym.
Right before he goes into the gym.
He goes to the docks first.
Oh, that's right.
He goes up to that guy. He's supposed to break his thumbs.
Yeah.
To get his money or break his thumbs.
Where are you going?
And the guy, he basically doesn't.
Yeah.
This is where you find out that, Rocky works for
some unsavory
for a bad fella, and he's like an arm breaker pretty much, but he's like the nicest arm breaker of all time. Like he doesn't want to hurt this guy, so he's like, the guy's like, "Oh, what does he say?" He's like, "You could, I'll
like,
take my hands off."
Yeah, he's
so
like,
it looks like you broke.
Gotta tell nobody. He's like, "Take my coat," and he's like, "Keep your damn coat." Yeah, that's.
But then he goes and meets Gazzo, and then Gazzo's little
he's like,
driver.
is he a mob boss? Like, what is he?
He's just, I guess he's kind
just
of a
like
wise guy.
like
he
a guy
just,
about town.
I think he's a guy that lends people money. And then
He's a loan
collects on
shark,
it. Yeah,
right? Yeah. So, yeah,
he seems like a guy that does a little bit of everything.
yeah.
Like he knows a little bit.
What
of
is his
everything.
one line that he says? I hear things, Rock.
Yeah, he keeps saying that. I hear things.
I hear things.
You don't
Rock.
think I hear things?
You don't think? Yeah, he's a pretty good character.
But then you also get his driver, buddy, and this is like the level of bullshit we're gonna talk about. The stuff like you're like, why would you even talk about this? But the driver is awesome.
Oh, that dude, he should have his own stand-up hour.
Him and Rocky have like this. Like, he just hates Rocky for some reason.
Rocky's giving him no indication to be mad at him, and he's just like, "Hey, Rocky, sucks you're still alive." And you're like, "Wow."
In this first sequence, he says, "Did you get the license plate number of that truck?" And he's like, "Oh, what truck?" And he's like, "The one that ran over your face." He's just like, "What the fuck?"
One that ran over your face. That's so rude. But like, that's the fun. Like, it's very obvious. Like, he's a nice dude, but everyone shits on him.
Oh yeah,
the whole time for no reason. He's just like, I'm a nice man, and they're like, you shouldn't be here in life. It's terrible.
But then they go back to the pet shop and he goes and tries to spit more game.
Oh yeah, round 2, back
Just
in action.
endless talking. He just doesn't. She doesn't even say anything.
I think that is how, like when we're at work.
Oh yeah.
I relate to Rocky, and everyone on our team is Adrian, and we're just like, so then this happened, and it's like you talk to a little kid, and they just keep rambling, and it's going nowhere.
But he wants to walk Adrian home so bad.
Yeah.
So he keeps trying, and then he makes to go in line with your quotes of awesome jokes. He tells the birds that are in a cage. He says, "Hey," when he's leaving, "Hey, none of you guys get up. You had a tough day in the cage." Yeah. He's just like, dude, I don't know those. That's what does it for me. Those type of things.
Throwaway
Oh
line.
my god.
I would love to see the original script where he's like Rocky ad-libs with the birds, and you're like just a bunch of nonsense. Is this Oh, and that's where you meet Paulie for the first time after that scene.
At the bar.
Because he goes to a bar after Adrian's like, I've never asked you to talk to me, so please leave. He goes to like a local bar.
The Lucky Seven.
The Lucky Seven. Yeah. That's a good bar.
And that was a real bar, and it comes back.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Interesting. In like a future Rocky movie, or
yeah. It's I think he goes. Does he go back in? I don't know if he goes back in. No, he doesn't go back in this movie. But yeah, that's like a staple. I didn't know that. I think it changes locations at one point, but
it's like still the same.
Yeah, I mean it's closed now, but it was an actual bar.
That's interesting. I did not know that. But that's where you see. I guess you find out it's like Rocky's best friend, this guy Paulie, and it just so happens to be Adrian's brother. And he's just a I don't even know what would you call him?
He's just an intentionally miserable person. Like he has to be miserable.
Yeah.
Even when he gets something and is happy, he needs to be miserable. So he's just a perpetually miserable person.
Yeah.
But he's hilarious as a perpetually miserable person.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
His little bucket hat that he wears all the time. They were like, let's make this guy look like he's a fisherman who doesn't own a boat. And that's the costume they want. He's wearing like a dirty flannel and a bucket hat 90% of the movie.
He is oh my god. And so he's basically trying to coerce Paulie into getting him a date. He's like, yo, she looks at me like I'm a plate of leftovers. And he's like, she's a loser.
She's a loser.
I could split her head with a razor. He's just like, what?
He's like, Paulie, I told her the good moth joke, and she's not having it. And he's like, you don't want it, nothing. Actually, I feel like we're confusing our Mick voices.
Yeah, you just threw Mick in there too. Yeah, maybe
he doesn't like her. I don't know.
No, yeah, I don't think Mick has any issue with Adrian.
He just doesn't like women in general.
Oh, he does. Later he does. That's right. I forgot. He does say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that will bring
the famous line. Yeah. We'll come back to that.
Yeah.
So you meet Paulie for the first time, and he's basically like, dude, I want to talk to your sister. I got great content that I'm throwing her way, and it's just nothing. And so he's like, you should come over for Thanksgiving. We're going to be there. It'll be fun. You guys can hang out and stuff like that. It goes horribly. That
doesn't go well at all. Because he doesn't tell his sister that he's coming. But
doesn't he, the whole time he's like, she's so excited, she doesn't know what to do with herself.
Yeah, he just lies to Rocky because he wants. When we get to that, you realize that he's actually trying to break his sister out of her shell, like in a weird Paulie way. He's trying to
But he's awful to her the whole
terrible.
time. So we go to it gets like, the flashes forward a little bit. They're at his house, at Paulie and Adrian's house for Thanksgiving. And she's not super thrilled that she's been told to go on a date with Rocky. And then there was a line that I pointed out, and she was like, "Oh, I made a turkey though. Like, I can't go out. It's Thanksgiving." And Paulie says, "Let me find it here. Oh, I don't know where it was." But he's basically like, "You want the bird? Here, go out to the alley and get it." And he throws the whole turkey out the window.
So, dude, I was watching something or listening to something. I don't know where I gleaned this knowledge, but they had to shoot that scene 5 times.
Why?
They only had one bird. So they had somebody outside the window that would catch the bird and bring it back in, because they only had one turkey.
They're like, "All right, Rick, here comes the turkey."
I don't know what happens, because then he rips the wing off. So I'm like, well, okay, so they must have only had one shot at that.
That was
imagine being the guy that's out there. All right,
be like, "Mom, I made it. I'm in Hollywood." Just getting turkeys lobbed down at you from the window.
Oh my god.
So I like going back over the story. I'm realizing there's like a lot of build up to the actual like boxing part of the movie. Like, he's a boxer, but it's kind of a while before he like really gets into it.
Because the only thing we've had so far is Apollo Creed's on TV.
Yeah, he's at the bar when he meets Paulie.
He's on TV.
You see Apollo,
and he's cutting an awesome bit, which has the quote, "Be a thinker, not a stinker."
Oh yeah,
basically telling kids to stay in school, which is awesome. Because he's like, I don't know.
He's like, "Don't waste your time being a boxer." And then he's just like, I love Apollo Creed.
Yeah, so you have
he was so good as Apollo.
Oh, yeah.
Carl Weathers, he was incredible.
So you have smatterings, and I think there's like a quick scene where you find out that his opponent for the New Year's Bash broke his finger or metatarsal. So you're like, and then he's like, "Oh, I must find somebody." And then he kind of, there's a foreshadowing, he's going to find like an underdog. He's going to find like a local Philadelphia man that he's going to give him a chance. So like they're like smattering it, but yeah, that's it. 90% of the movie so far has been just him walking around.
Rocky's poor dating life.
Yeah.
And that's it. So they goes horribly. Rocky and Adrian, because there's no turkey, because it was thrown out of a window, they go on the date, and what do they go ice skating.
Oh yeah, this is awesome. I love this part. So he originally, wow, Adrian shells herself out in the bathroom when Paulie starts screaming, and then he comes over and he's trying to do his little jokes, and it's not working, and then all of a sudden he's just like, he finally breaks it down where he's like, I think we should go out, I think we should go get something to eat. So she's like, finally comes out, like she opens the door, dressed, ready to go, hat, everything, just ready to rock.
Yeah,
so
just
they
ready
leave.
to run. So she already decided, like, so he's like, I'm gonna do
he's
this.
He's like, all right. So Paulie's little tactics sort of worked here. Yeah, but then he asked Paulie what she likes to do, and he's like, oh, she likes to ice skate. He's like, all right, so we'll go. Skate. So it's Thanksgiving. The ice skating rink is closed.
It's long done.
The Zamboni man's the only one in there. He says you can't come in. But eventually, he's like, come on. He's like, all right, $10. He
tells a story that he's like, this girl, she's not too well. You can see, which I thought was a wild way to introduce your first date.
She looks great. Jesus.
And then he's like, the doctor's telling her she's got to go out. Look at her. And he's like, all right, 10. What is it?
$10 for 10 minutes.
$10 for 10 minutes on the ice.
They like haggle for a little bit, then they settle at $10. So he does
$10.
Yeah.
But only she gets ice skates, which I thought was a weird.
Yeah,
choice.
Well, he knew he was nothing on ice skates, so he's like, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna jog next to you.
But like,
shuffle.
If you told Olivia, like, oh, for our first date, we're gonna go ice skating, but I'm just gonna run next to you, she'd be like, maybe we don't do a
let's do something else. Yeah. But I think they're already there. He already gave him the $10, and then I think she said, "You gonna get skates?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm not."
He's
I'm
like,
"Oh, on skates.
I don't go on skates."
Yeah.
So it goes well, I guess, and then afterwards is when he brings her back to his recovering house, I guess, and then basically like she's very like, I shouldn't be here, yada yada yada.
Well, yeah, this is the only part of the movie that I was like, damn, is Rocky a creep? And even after watching it, I still came back
because
they walk up to his house, and he says, "You want to come in?" And she's like,
says, absolutely not.
And then he's like, "Come on." He's basically doing doing the baby, it's cold outside.
Yeah.
Thing.
But and then Adrian, it's I got turtles in here. And
then she's like, oh, fine. So she goes in.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, I mean, realistically, her going home would have been like the smart move, like in a realistic scenario.
But in a Hollywood setting,
you're like, okay.
You're like, all right, I'll buy it.
She's warming up here.
I'll play along.
And she walks into his apartment that's still never been cleaned.
I think it got dirtier, and he
worse.
hadn't been home. And I don't think she looks thrilled to be there. But he's like, yeah, why don't you come, why don't you come sit down? And he like brushes. Did you see his couch?
Yeah, he's like, come on, the couch is nice, whatever.
Like,
it's
nice.
covered in newspaper.
It's just a disaster.
Like, it's fine, but I was like, dude.
Yeah, like, come on, pick
he's
yourself
like, he's
up,
like, come in here.
up,
the big bugs are in there or whatever. I'm like, damn.
I mean, I
the
guess
fact that
he
there's
has
big bugs
game.
anywhere probably isn't good.
It's not. Yeah, I would just he shouldn't have done any of that. So she stays. I guess you find out that they're like kind of cool now. They're dating or whatever. Also, this is the scene where Rocky does his. It's like he invites her in, and then he's just in his tank top, and he has like the pull up bar thing above him. I didn't realize, like, I think he got more defined in some of his other movies, but he's just like a big dude in general.
Oh,
like
yeah.
he's a kind of a house in this movie.
He's big.
So they decide, all right, I guess. So now they're kind of like dating or whatever is where that scene leads. Basically,
It's almost weird because it's almost like he forces her. To, like he like goes over and he's like, oh, let me take your glasses off. Let me take your hat off.
Yeah,
and you're
it's kind of
like, I don't know about this, but
Yeah.
then eventually, like, you can tell that they're both are like they're looking in each other's eyes. And you're like, oh, and you're like, okay,
damn.
somehow, and then the music is in the back,
Yeah.
and you're just like,
It's beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful.
So it's almost like I don't know if this should be happening, but then it's great.
It turns out well.
It's awesome.
It's not weird.
Then they do some weird little makeout session on the ground, and then it cuts. But
And then
yeah,
it
it's
cuts.
great.
Yeah. So that now Rocco has found himself a lady. We're all very excited for him. Then we have the whole idea. I'm trying to remember what happens next. Because then it goes to Apollo basically finding Rocky, like the Italian stallion.
So he goes. So Rocky goes back to the gym.
Yeah.
Mick's like, hey, this promoter Juergens was looking for you, and he's
Yeah.
like, for what? And he initially tells him for a sparring partner for Apollo, which would be more of what Rocky would expect. So he's like, okay. And
he's
this
like,
is,
I'm a very good sparring partner. I wouldn't do no cheap shots or nothing. You're like, okay, Rock.
so
How
Rocky
about
gets
you
the
dial it
address,
back?
goes sees the promoter, and calls himself a ham and egger. Just like a beef, like a
Yeah.
just like a swinger, right?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, I can't, he's like, I can't fight this guy because
he's
the
gonna
promoter
kill him.
then tells him, yeah, you're gonna fight Apollo Creed in this championship bout. And he's like, what?
And he's like, I don't think so. That doesn't seem like it. But there was a great line when when Apollo is like looking for someone, he's flipping through like some vague book.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's like, this right here. And then like, I don't know if you can hear, it's like, he's like knocking on the book and he's like, this right here, the Italian Stallion. And you're like, what book is he reading? Number one. And then he says, he's like, think about it. He's like, this guy's Italian. This country was founded by Italians, which is not true. And he's like, how great would it be to see me take on one of America's founders? And you're like, there's nothing. I don't know why that's where we went with it, but I just thought that was really silly. That he like basically said that. But I do love the nickname, the Italian Stallion. I think that's great. I don't know where did you see anywhere like where he came up with that?
Well, so in the
I thought it had like weird origins.
I mean, in the movie, I'm not sure outside the movie how he came up with it, but in the movie, there's like a press conference right after this.
Yeah.
Where Paulie he's actually watching the press conference at home with Paulie and Adrian, and Paulie says something like while he's watching, he's like, "Do me a favor, his lungs, punch out."
Punch out.
But yeah, it's basically one of those like promos. It's got both of them on there, and then they ask him like, where did you come up with the nickname the Italian Stallion? He's like I invented that while I was making dinner. Or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, when he's on TV.
You're like, what? That's the answer you gave?
Yeah, and then he gives the shout out to Adrian.
He's like, yo, Adrian, it's Rocky. That's the first yo Adrian in the movie.
Yeah, and he's sitting next to Adrian while they're watching.
And she's like, you shouldn't have.
And she's all about it.
Oh yeah, now
she's happy with.
So
being
that's
with
another
him.
thing is the whole time the movie, every time you see Adrian, she's getting more comfortable and she's looking better and better. She's smiling. She talks more. Rocky pretty much breaks her out of her shell. It's almost like they need each other. Yeah, which I love stories like that. They both need each other for different reasons, but they both kind of grow together. Yeah, I feel like
it's nice.
I'm over romanticizing
It's kind of wildly, but it's very wholesome.
You know what I'm talking about.
They now we're at the part of the movie where it's kind of like So Apollo calls him out. He agrees to do it, which I think in the movie they said he was going to get paid like $150,000 or something like that. So Paulie, good old Paulie, starts doing his bit of like, yeah, you'll never give me nothing. Like, oh, here, and
he's like, Rock, you need good people around you. And he keeps leaving it at that, but he keeps saying like, Rock's like, oh no, I'm good on training. I'll get, I got this figured out.
He's hinting very hard.
You need good people around you.
But then he freaks out. Paulie freaks out, and then I wrote this down as Adrian's kind of like turning point, where she was like, oh, you're nothing but a loser. Like basically Rocky's getting mad at him. Adrian's getting mad at Paulie, and she's never stood up for herself. So he's like, oh, you're crazy. Like, I can't believe this. And then he's like, you're nothing but a loser. And then she freaks out at him and then says, I'm not a loser. And does like that whole thing. And then basically, I kind of think of this as like the second half of the movie, where it's like, all right, you've established all the characters. Now Rocco has to just get in there and do some good old-fashioned training.
Oh, yeah.
For the fight. Very inspiring. Did you have anything that it looks like you want to say something?
Oh, no. I just had a quote from that same scene.
Yeah.
Hey, you want to do a good thing? Stay out of my freaking life. That's what he says.
That's what Paulie says.
He says that to Adrian, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Because he's just like losing his mind.
Because he's going crazy.
He feels like he's getting like pushed out of this little scenario. Like, everybody wants a little piece of...
A little slice of the cheddar, and Rocco's not having it. Well, I mean, he is.
He is. But he's also not... He doesn't need... Like, he's like, okay, I've done this myself.
Yeah, so like I'm good.
He had like a bum manager the first fight you see him in. Like,
yeah, it was terrible.
He just knows like, okay, I got this. He's like, whatever. This is no different from my normal training.
Yeah, and then so now he is... I guess now he's back at the gym. Like, he's just trying to train. Right?
Well, yeah. Well, Mick also does the same thing.
Yeah.
He comes to Rocky's place, knocks for him. And all of a sudden,
everyone cares about him.
Yeah. And so Mick comes, and he comes up to his place, and he's basically like, you know what, Rock? Like he's almost trying to revise history.
Yeah, he's trying to be like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime, kid.
Yeah.
And Rocky, he did say, there's a really good quote that Rocky says. He's like, well, Mick goes into his house and he's like, nice place you got here. Clearly lying.
Yeah, he's lying.
And he's like, oh, you never stopped by before you heard about this fight. And I was like, oh, got him.
He's like, what's the matter? Does my house stink? Yeah, it stinks.
And he's what's his name? He's not in his apartment anymore, but Rocky is just he's basically just unloading like a whole bunch of like, this is all bullshit. Like, I hate where I'm at. And that's a pretty good line.
But I will say Mick also starts breaking down here, and it's a little sad because he's really trying. Rocky like shuts himself in his bathroom.
Yeah.
And he's like talking through the door, and you can see Mick starting to well up a little bit. He's like, yeah, I'm 76 years old. Like, I just need to,
Yeah, I got all this knowledge, kid. Yeah.
And then you can see he's like, all right. So now he's going from that hardened, like mean Mick to like, oh man, like this is like my opportunity, like
to actually make a difference.
Yeah.
So you kind of start seeing everybody changing around Rocky, and like they start kind of believing in him a little bit. Is this?
This is yeah, and then we go right into
the. If you want to start.
This is where he wakes up at 4 a.m. to radio.
Oh yeah,
he just slams 6 eggs. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. What is the deal with that? I thought that was like, so for those of you who don't know, like you go to the gym a lot.
I've never done this.
You've never slammed eggs, but I'm just saying, like, I look like a popsicle with the 2 sticks in it. So like, if someone had a better like opinion.
No, I mean, I'll eat 6 eggs for breakfast. I think that's a great meal.
But why did he do it raw?
So supposedly, when Stallone was bad off, he didn't have a stove.
Oh.
So he would do this in real life.
He was just straight up like, this is the only way I can eat an egg.
So he kind of, just like he invented the Italian style. I think he
invented this way of eating
And I don't know. I recently was like, on YouTube watching someone's video about their morning shake or whatever. It's like breakfast. Sometimes you got to get it to go. And this one guy was swearing by putting egg whites right in there as the protein.
I feel like
I tried that. That's the worst thing. It took me
like nasty.
45 minutes to drink it. It was awful. Yeah. So him just drinking 6 eggs.
And then he goes on a run.
I don't get it.
He's also running in Chuck Taylor's. Chucks.
And what color is his jumpsuit? I couldn't tell.
Gray.
Is it? Because it almost looks like some weird, like, brown. It almost looks like he's wearing, like, a burlap suit.
He's wearing a potato sack.
It is the weirdest looking. He looks like...
No, it's like a gray suit. He's got his little hat on.
They might have reused that same outfit for Oswald Cobblepot in Batman Returns. It's like the same outfit he's wearing. It's like this awful
It's not
looking.
good. Yeah,
Anyways,
it sucks. Yeah.
he hits the ground running through city, right by City Hall there, right as the newspaper's getting dropped.
Yeah.
And then he does his first run up to the Rocky steps.
And it doesn't
like,
go well. At the art museum in Philadelphia. Yeah. So one thing I did notice during that, like, kind of that iconic run, I feel like those places aren't super near each other.
No, yeah.
Like, obviously, you know, they do for the movie. They, like, kind of stitch stuff together. But I do think it's cool that, like, today they have, like, the Rocky Balboa 5K. And it ends by going, like, the end of the race is at the top of the stairs, which I thought was kind of cool. Like, if you've been down, I mean, you've seen, like, like, now they have the statue there, and they have, like, at the top, they have, like, his shoes. You know what I'm talking about? Have you seen that?
His shoes? I don't think I've seen that.
It's like, it looks like there's, like, the bottom of Chuck Taylor's, like, in the
concrete.
concrete.
I haven't seen that. I mean, I've seen the statue. Yeah. I've been by the statue.
If you go down there now, it's like, there's, like, people in Rocky shirts, like, trying to be like, $5, I'll take your picture with your phone. You're
so
like,
we'll actually talk about that statue a little bit, because it has a cool kind of, I don't know if it's cool, but there's a story to it. That's pretty cool.
I think it's weird because, like, people are like, oh, he's, you know, he's a famous Philadelphian. He's not a real person, though. So I don't... People are like, yeah, that Rocky, he's one of our own. And we're like, yeah, but he's a character. They'd be like, yeah, man, Mickey Mouse is like, he's an authentic, you know, Floridian, because Walt Disney World's there. We're not sponsored by Disney, don't say us.
But so he has the Rocky Marciano full size poster on his wall, so he kind of takes inspiration from him.
That's true.
And then you have Joe Frazier, an actual Philadelphia boxer, in there, so you could tell he like his character is based on these guys.
He did a good job. I think he did a cool job, like, representing Philadelphia things.
Oh yeah, and like, if you think about it, like, that put Philadelphia on the map. Yeah, you know what I mean. Like, it premiered in New York City and L.A. because those. I mean, that's even where, like, even as big as we think Philadelphia is here, like, it's never going to be as big as L.A. It's never going to be as big as New York. Like, it's just not going to be as big, as many people. Those are like the hubs, right?
Yeah, that was like the center of.
But this, like, I feel like
business.
like, he brings this, like, new life, you know.
There's a lot of, like, they're throwing around a lot of used guys in this, which I was like, that's amazing. But it's so that's we start off with the training montage. He's doing his little egg routine. He's trying to run. I don't think it's going, like, super well for him.
No, but I think that's good though, because it's his first workout. Yeah.
So is this after? Doesn't he decide, like, okay, I'm going to let Mick train me? Like, when does he decide that?
So So at the end of that that sequence where he's yelling through the door and Mick goes outside all defeated, you see him kind of go down the steps and just quietly walk over, kind of like talk to him, and then they shake hands. Yeah. So it's almost like
he's being trained by him.
Yeah. It's almost like, you can relate to those situations where you yell at your friend.
And then you're like,
well, they're not really friends at this point, but you yell at somebody, like,
like when you're yelling at your old boxing coach out in an alleyway,
and then you're just like, all right, look.
Yeah, look, it's
I think that was that was pretty realistic to me.
I agree. And so now Mick is kind of like, they're gearing him up for he has a lot of really good quotes. So that was where, I think we talked about this earlier. So he's in the gym, like, he's doing all this training and stuff, and Mick is basically saying, like, you got to stop talking to this girl. Like, you can't have any distractions. And Mick famously says, women weaken legs.
Oh my god.
And that's just like, I think that's just, to me, that's such a classic line.
And he's like, okay, I'll stop messing around.
He's like, yeah, I'll stop talking to her. And he's like, 2 seconds later, he's like, yo, Adrian, how crazy is this that this guy said this to me? So,
but the scene before that, they're at the place, and Adrian's like trying to, like, kiss up on him. He's like, no fool around during training. And she's like, oh, you're serious? And he's like, yeah. So
he's like, oh, you were serious about that.
So he already knows, but yeah, Mick instills the fear of life in him with that.
It's just like
fear of death,
one of many wild Mick sayings.
But then he ties the strings around his feet there because he was actually trying to. Because that's the thing is, I don't think Rocky's ever been trained as a boxer. Somehow.
So a little bit about Rocky's form, which kind of makes him like, this is like a theme throughout, but he's a southpaw. Like he basically, like, the way I looked at it is, like, if you ride a skateboard, like, you can ride regular or you can ride goofy, and that's basically just like what foot you lead with. He's basically like the lefty version of a boxer, which I didn't even know was a thing.
Well, but, I mean, when I would train, I'm left-handed.
So you're a southpaw?
Yeah.
Are you? Are you Rocky Balboa?
No. I trained Muay Thai for a while, but
Yeah.
you know, that's like a mix of boxing, well, some boxing, but mostly kickboxing, Thai style. But yeah, I mean, he has that whole sequence where they're on the ice, where you know he's explaining Southpaw to Adrian.
I don't think any of that's based in fact.
And I don't know. I didn't know.
He's
if
like,
it
yeah,
was
he
or
was
not.
fighting some guy in Jersey,
He's like, yeah.
and he was pointing towards South Jersey, and you're like, I don't think that's.
He's like, yeah, they were fighting in Philadelphia, and his left hand was, you know, he was left-handed, and his hand was pointing towards Jersey, and that's South. So South Jersey, South Paul.
And the guy's, he's like, yeah, and his name was Paul, so South Paul. And I'm like, I think he thinks it's called South Paul, Paul, and not Paul as in like a dog's paw.
Yeah,
which makes it even.
But
funnier.
he does explain. He's like, yeah, you know, South Paul will throw, you know, conventional like orthodox boxers like his timing off, and that is accurate. Yeah, because everything's coming the opposite way. It really does. It changes the whole.
So is it
fight.
like? Is that, do people like, I don't know if you ever came across this, like what you were doing to your thing. Like, do people not want to like spar, fight, whatever, people that are like, do they want to be able to match the same style as someone so you can get that timing stuff down? Like,
I mean,
I just don't know how it works because I've never.
So I'm left-handed, so that's naturally what. No, some people will learn both stances. Like I learned both stances actually. I went back and learned orthodox as well. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, to keep it short, like. If you're gonna fight a southpaw, you want to spar against someone, at least someone at southpaw, because it's
just easier for everybody.
Well, yeah, because you're learning. It doesn't sound like, if you just think about it, it's like, oh, it doesn't really sound that different, but it's completely different. You know, the strikes land differently. Your stance is differently. Your pattern, your movement pattern is everything's gonna be different based on how they're coming, because they're coming from a completely they're
angled like a different way.
Yeah, your strong and weak sides are completely different when you.
Like when you're but that's what it's. Apollo says that, or his trainer is like, you don't want to fight a southpaw.
Yeah,
like
Apollo doesn't care,
he doesn't care. He's like, this guy is like, I mean, I don't know where this guy's living, but I'm assuming it's not great.
Yeah, and his manager Tony Burton is awesome.
He is great. Yeah. He plays a big role. I think in all of the rest of them. He joins Rocky's like team.
Yeah, he's actually only one of like what's like Rocky, Paulie, and him are the only characters in every single movie.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. But he is great. I forgot to give him a shout out at the beginning. So then we're doing the training.
They go to the meat factory.
Paulie's like, let me show you a good place to train. And then he's basically punching like a cow carcass. And that's where he's like, hey, you're breaking the ribs.
And that's real. Like they are actually punching that.
Yeah, and like, he's like actually hitting it.
Stallone's been interviewed about that. And he's like, yeah, I'll never do that again. It hurts so bad.
It was just not pleasant to do.
Bone.
Yeah, with his bare knuckles.
Oh, yeah. Even if there wasn't bone, I'm sure
it was still probably sucked.
And then then it come back to the meat factory, and the news team is there.
Yeah,
and Paulie has invited the news coverage to kind of get some publicity and kind of get stuff going.
Yeah.
He's always trying
to make a buck off of everything Rocky's doing.
So then they have Rocky punching the meat on live TV. News.
And that's where Apollo's manager is like, hey, you better kind of seems like this guy knows what's up.
Yeah, this guy's serious.
And Apollo's like, yeah, okay. Anyway.
And then he's standing there next to the lady. His hands are covered in blood, and he's just like menacingly staring into the camera, and you're just like, what the fuck?
And you're like, he's gone. He's a maniac. But and then so he's training. He does the final, like the successful run up the Rocky stairs, the art museum.
Oh yeah,
and the theme song, and then the whole like just full blast. That was awful. I'm so bummed I just did that in the middle of our recording. He gets up there, does the jumping up and down. You see the Philadelphia skyline in the background, all that good stuff. And then it flashes to the night before the fight.
Oh yeah.
Do you want to?
But do we want to talk about the montage or anything? Because
let's talk about the montage.
The one thing I was gonna say is it's like, as a kid, I thought that was like 15 minutes.
I thought the whole movie of Rocky was just a man running through Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And then he hits someone at the end.
It's roughly less than 2 minutes, probably the whole thing. You got the one-arm push-ups, the run, the run through the train yard of the Italian market, which again, these places.
They're kind of far from each other.
I mean, we're not whatever. We're not perfect.
We'll leave that up to the experts.
And then he sprints in front of the huge ship in the Navy Yard, and then And then, like you said, he hits the top of the steps, and those are the iconic shots everybody knows.
That everybody knows. He's at the top. It's I will say every time, and then like it just, I think like the theme song matched with the stance and the background. Every time I watch it, I'm like, yeah, baby, let's eat a cheesesteak. Like, yeah, it's so inspiring. And then so it is now the night before the fight. He goes down there. So the fight is going to be at the Spectrum, which was a venue in Philadelphia. It is not there anymore. It was torn down in something like early 2000s, I think, is when it was finally torn down. But he basically sees like the giant banners, and on one side it's Apollo, on the other side it's him, but his shorts are wrong. Like the colors of his shorts are wrong. And like, I guess who's it's the promoters in there. What does he say? Yeah, what does he say?
And he's like, and Rocky's like, oh, you got the
colors.
He's like, what are you doing here, Rocky's like, you got the colors wrong. And it's like the shorts are opposite, so it's like either the red and white are switched between the color and the stripe. And he's like, what's it matter either way or whatever. He's like, what does it matter?
Like, is it really gonna matter? Like,
you're gonna give us a good show, huh? And he's like, yeah.
He's like, oh yeah.
So
like, what did you just say?
So the reason they actually put that in, so that's a scene that wasn't in the original script, is because the guy that was in charge of that.
Oh, did he actually mess it up?
And they didn't have it. They're like, what do we do? So
I think that adds to it, though.
So the director went back and said, hey, Rock, we gotta. So they actually wrote that scene and added it in, so that would make sense.
I think it's cool. I mean, I think it adds to like never in a million years was he supposed to win. Like, was he supposed to put up any shred of a fight?
Yeah, no.
And then so it's now he goes home. He's basically like, Adrian, I can't do this. I'm gonna freak out. And then it's the day of the fight.
Yeah, and he's got I like to add that Paulie has gotten his advertisement onto the robe. He's got the shamrock meat out of the.
It's like the Italian stallion, and then right above it, it's like a big like
shamrock meats, which I found out is not the whole meat. That whole meat packing, that whole factory is actually in LA. Like a couple of the places are in LA.
That's kind of
so the inside of the gym is in LA. That's in LA.
That was in the Spectrum though, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did part of it in the Spectrum.
Yeah, I think they did some of the scenes.
The final fight, I think, is like a staged area.
Because they had all the people there. I think like for the scene, like with the like when he goes in there and he's like, "Hey, the banner's wrong." Like that was in the Spectrum. Yeah. But so then they basically get into it. He has a great line before he goes out. So it's like right before he goes out, he's talking. It's Rocky and Adrian. And he was like, and she's basically 180. We were talking about the beginning. Like, she looks great. Rocky's like, they both have their shit together a little bit. And he goes, hey, while I'm out here, how about, don't leave town or whatever. And I thought that was amazing.
Like, you better still be here when I get back.
Yeah, he's like, hey, don't leave town and nothing. And I just thought that was a great classic Rocky line. And his jokes are actually landing at the end.
Yeah.
Which I was like, all right. He's kind of funny now. It's not his moth content has gone way down.
But the announcers they're great.
Yeah,
they're like, we got the caveman against the cavalier. It's like a 50-1 underdog. They're just like
this is like as Rocky's walking in to fight, and then we get Apollo's awesome intro.
Holy shit, man! He comes out dressed as George Washington in a boat, just throwing money into the crowd. With this fucking smile on it.
We got to start going to work like that.
Holy shit, man. Yeah, so he comes out with that. But then, so you're like, okay, that's crazy enough. They're like, oh, he's throwing money out there. And then his transition into the ring, he turns into Uncle Sam.
Oh, yeah. He puts on like a red, white, and blue like top hat.
Yeah, he goes from
like,
George
I want you, Balboa. And he's like pointing at him stuff.
I want the stallion.
I want the stallion. And Rocky's basically just like, I don't know what to do with myself right now.
But Creed's like, Creed in 3. He's basically saying that he's going to win 3 rounds no matter what. And then you get this awesome this like, I'm not even a cinematography guy, but you get this awesome shot from above where they're dropping the mic down to the announcer.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's so cool.
As he's calling the fight.
Yeah, at that point I'm like, it doesn't matter how many times I've seen this, I'm getting goosed right up. I'm ready.
Getting goosed.
I'm ready.
And then so the fight starts. Right out of the gate, Rocky hits Apollo, like knocks him down basically, like with one really solid punch.
Yeah, because basically Apollo's hitting him with his jabs from far away. Rocky can't get in. And then that's one of those things with the opposite stances. It really is hard to get that timing right. I mean, Rocky probably trains against orthodox fighters all the time, but still, you can tell he's like, he doesn't know what to do. And then he steps in with that uppercut and puts him down in the first round. Yeah.
gets him. And then the announcer's like, that's the first time Apollo Creed has ever been knocked down.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh crap. Like they start the count, like basically saying, you know, in boxing, like if you make it to 10, I think is what it is, right? Like
10 count, yeah.
The fight's over.
Yeah.
So he makes it to like 7 and they're 2 seconds into the fight. And I think this is where Apollo's like, shit, I better step up a little bit.
I better get moving here. But oh yeah, so they actually do bring out Joe Frazier before the fight, which is cool. I just wanted to add that because I thought that was cool.
As like, a local Philly.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Celebrity.
And that's where you're like, when he's talking to Creed, and he's like, "Oh, they must be friends."
Yeah, and Rocky's like, "Yeah, I think they know each other."
But yeah, so then Creed comes back out slamming, and he's fucking Rocky up, and then he knocks him into the rope, raises the bell rings in that first round, and
Did you have the subtitles on for? We talk about. We always watch.
Yeah, I do because especially with
stuff
something like
that, especially older movies.
Yeah,
the audio is not like super great. But did you pick up what he said?
Which part?
When he has him in the ropes for the first time, Rocky has Apollo in the ropes, and Apollo goes. He says something. He's like, "Yeah, you're just a guy pretending to be a boxer," or something like that. And I was like, "Damn!" And then again, that's like we always say, like, watch movies with subtitles. You pick up on stuff like that.
I can't hear too good or see too good, so I need like a combination.
You're like, everything doesn't work.
Yeah, like my comprehension is awful.
Is not there.
But then his nose breaks here.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
He's had 44 fights up to this point.
Yeah.
Or 46
Never
fights.
broken his nose.
What is he, 40 and 22? 44 and 20. So, yeah, 64 fights, and his nose has never been broken. And then his nose gets broken right there. I think that's just a cool...
And so he gets his nose broken, and then Mick goes, "Your nose is broken." He goes, "Oh, yeah? How's it look?" And he goes, "It's an improvement." Which is savage. Mick's sole job is to be like, "I used to be a boxer. Also, you're a loser." And then like just to dig into Rocky whenever he can.
And then on the other side, you have Duke in Apollo's corner, and he's like, "Finish this bum, let's go home." But dude, the way he talks, like, have you ever played the Fight Night games? You ever play those games?
No, I never did.
Oh my god, Fight Night round 2, I think I had. Oh, I used to play that game all the time. But
what was it for? What was it like?
I had it for PlayStation 2, no, Xbox maybe.
Okay,
I think it was Xbox. Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was Xbox.
Yeah,
but yeah, you have a corner man, and I swear, like when I watch this movie, like it's this they looked at Rocky for like that voice because like amazing. I looked it up. It's not his voice, but I was like, dude, it is so close. Yeah, and he says the same stuff. But that's the kind of stuff you'd get in between rounds when they're like, you have to like do your own icing and stuff, and you have your corner guy. Every time I see, I always think, oh my god, dude, it's the same. It was
Rocky. And then they're fighting. They're still going. They make it to the end. They make it to round 15, right?
Yeah, they go
the full 15.
But I just want to add at the end of round 2, so they do like the two rounds. Then that song "Going the Distance" comes in, and that's the song that Puff Daddy uses in Victory.
Incredible,
and that's what ends up becoming that song that you play at the Eagles game.
Yeah,
and
that's pretty inspiring.
And that music just gets me fired. I'm like
he's standing.
And then then they do the fight montage where it's just like the ring girl keeps coming up and goes like all the way through, and then they get to 14, and 14
it's like they're both looking rough.
Yeah,
is this where he says they're like, "I'm gonna call this fight," and they're both like, "Don't call the fight," like they're both doing bad. And then Rocky's like, "I can't see, Mick. You gotta cut my eye. You gotta cut me.
If you stop this fight, I'll kill you.
I'll kill you." He's like, "Hey, we're a little concerned about it." He's like, "I'll burn your house down if you stop this."
Yeah, but they cut his eye. That blood just starts gushing out, and you can tell Rocky broke Apollo's ribs there at the end of the 14. Yeah, then Rocky goes down at the end of 14, and he gets up on the 9 count. So it almost calls it right there.
Yeah, and then he comes back strong. Rocky just goes like beast mode.
And then you also get this real quick cut of Adrian for the first time. She's there. You can tell she's like, she's like looking around. Like you just see her once, and you know it's on. You know she's
it's
there.
good to go.
Oh man,
he's like, I know my.
Oh man,
yeah.
I'm like, I'll be honest, I'm more excited about that.
I was amped when I saw that.
When you see her, I'm like,
he's like, I'll go fight someone right now. I don't even care.
But then they do the 15th round. They're like, all right, the last round, right?
Yeah.
And the last round, and then that's
when
they
make it the full 15 rounds. So they basically have to go. They're really like.
And then right at the end of that last round, Rocky almost has him. He has him up against the ropes. His ribs.
Yeah.
He keeps. That's what's cool is Rocky's his signature, I think, because they
It
go
was
back
like
to
the
it.
rips,
It's
right?
those
Yeah.
body shots,
Yeah.
and he starts getting him. You can't beat him
Kills
upstairs because Apollo's obviously a much better boxer,
He's
but
the
he
champ.
starts rocking his body, yeah, and then he gets him, and then he's right as the bell rings, he has him up against the rope, hits him with that straight.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it could be it. But the bell rings,
And
and
it
you're like,
rings.
and then
That's
yeah.
when they both say. So that's why another thing that I picked up on the subtitles. Apollo, they're basically like holding each other, and Apollo goes, "There isn't going to be a rematch," and Rocky goes, "I don't want one."
Yeah, I have
Which
that
is
here.
Awesome. Oh
That's,
my god.
oh man,
That's so.
there ain't
cool.
gonna be no rematch.
And he's like, "I don't want one." And then they. So how does it end?
Well, then you start seeing Adrian. You start seeing her again. They start
Yeah.
showing her like in the back of the crowd, and you start seeing her. And then like,
Because Rocky's basically
Yeah.
just like, I don't even care how this fight ends. Like,
yeah,
he just wants to see Adrian. He just wants to be with.
because that was the whole thing, is he just wanted to go the distance with the champ, and he
Yeah.
said like then he'll no longer be a bum if he can go
Yeah.
the distance. That's like his test. He won't longer be a bum. So then you see Adrian, and he starts calling for her. He's like, Adrian. That's where you get that, and everyone
Yeah.
mocks that. That gets fucking
It's such a classic
mocked,
line.
made fun
though.
of. Stallone gets made fun of for everything he does.
It's so classic.
but
Though. How
he's
does he make fun of it?
honestly the man.
Yeah,
and like he
yeah.
knows.
It's
like,
such a his delivery is like so.
it's
genuine,
perfect.
too.
And like you're talking about a dude that just got like, I'm gonna use your quote. He just got battered like a highway cone.
he's like a battered highway.
Yeah,
cone,
he just
man.
got beaten to death.
Just-
And so of course, yeah, he's fucking. His eyes are barely even functioning, and he's Adrian.
yeah.
And then you heard, and she's like trying to get through the crowd. Rocky, and it's going back and forth,
Yo,
back
someone
and forth.
takes her hat.
Yeah, her hat
It's
goes,
long gone.
and like.
yeah.
And that was also a cool thing because she's always wearing the hat because she's like
It's
you
like a
know,
security
self-conscious.
thing. Yeah.
That goes off. She doesn't
Done.
care.
Yeah.
She's in the ring. Going on. They're yelling the split decision in the background. I really like
Yeah.
how they start with the decision. They never finish. You can never hear
Yeah.
how it actually goes. So
You
like,
find out that Apollo wins though.
Yeah.
Because at the end, but it's basically.
But you don't
like,
find that
it's
out
so
for
in
3
the
years.
background. Yeah, that's true.
like
With Rocky, when Rocky 2 comes out.
because we didn't see, like, we weren't alive in 1976, but like
No.
when that movie ends, like, you have no idea. And
I think you do hear them in the background say like split decision, like they're leaned towards Creed because you
Well,
see
yeah.
Creed like raise his hands, but it's such a throwaway.
yeah,
like,
well, because
passing line.
all you hear, because they have 3 judges, so they'll say
Yeah.
split decision. The first judge goes to Creed, and then that's the only thing you actually hear. Though you never hear the other
Oh,
two.
that's right. Yeah. Man, I
So
think
and then
you're
all
right,
of a
yeah.
sudden, it doesn't matter though because they're in there, and you get the I love you.
Yeah, that's the last
And
line of the
then
movie is them
that's it.
basically just saying
And
"I love you" to each
I'm
other.
like-
Adrian, not Rocky and Apollo. Adrian and Rocky.
I love you, Apollo.
I love you, and he's like, "Yeah, man, I'll take a rematch actually." And it's not weird. And so yeah, they
It's not
just
weird.
yeah, it's not because they made a whole nother movie.
Yeah,
And then they basically are just saying like, "I love you," like Adrian, I love you, Rocky, I love you,
and
and then
music's going.
bam, 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 and then you're good.
My eyes are just like
Yeah, and I gotta
watery.
I gotta go take a walk and yeah, tell my loved ones that I care about them and eat a cheesesteak. And yeah, so that is Rocky.
Wow, we really stumbled through that one.
Yeah, that was good. We
Yeah.
didn't stumble through. We covered
I'm
all
just
the.
joking. I meant.
Okay, no. So what did you have any quotes?
I feel like I hit most of my quotes, like as we were going through, but there
Yeah.
was a couple I think that I just we skipped like a couple of Gazzo scenes. What the hell? Oh, the one thing I loved was hold on one second. I think I have it right here. Where is it? Oh, he's like Mick says every time Mick says something, it's awesome. But he
It's
says
quotable.
He
yeah.
says, "You're gonna eat lightning and crap thunder."
Oh, you're gonna eat lightning and crab thunder.
I love that.
That's during
It's right. It's like right
as he's
before the
training,
montage.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a line here that when the first Gazzo scene, when he's in his car, he's like trying to tell him information, and this is the only time he does this. Rocky like puts on this little like rickety pair of glasses to write something down, and I was like, look at him go with his little glasses on, and I just thought that was really silly. It didn't add anything to it, but yeah.
Well, that's a scene where we won't talk too much about it, but his driver tells Rocky to take Adrian to the zoo.
Yeah.
And I lose my mind every time.
Yeah,
It cracks me
the
up.
beef
He's
with
just
this
so
driver,
mean to him.
he's terrible. So speaking of taking their first date, this is kind of the line that closed out their first date. But she was like, he's basically Adrian starts kind of opening up to him, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm really shy. Like, I'm sorry." And And he's like, yeah, well, it's okay. Like I was told that I don't have a brain, so I got to be a fighter. And she was like, I was told I didn't have, much of a body, so I needed to have a brain. And he goes, well, I think we make a real sharp couple of coconuts then. I'm dumb and you're shy. How about it? And I thought that was great.
Oh, yeah, I love
So
that
good.
part.
Yeah.
So speaking of the ice skating rink,
Yeah.
so originally they were going to do Stallone wanted to do an outdoor ice skating rink and have it full of people.
Okay.
That was the original idea.
Yeah. Could they not afford it or something?
But yeah, they literally for budget
Damn.
reasons had to do it inside with one extra, and honestly, it's
wild.
so much better.
It is so much
It's
better.
so much better.
Yeah.
You also get he's just giving them as they're going around. He's explaining Southpaw to her.
Yeah.
The Zamboni guy keeps
He's
telling
like,
him how much
4
time.
minutes.
At the end, he goes, "Hey yo, time!" But it's like the best yo I've ever.
Yeah.
No, it's like a yo.
Yeah.
It is the best yo.
It means that guy, he was pretty good.
And then
Zamboni guy,
as
the
they're
big
walking
guy.
back, she's like, well, so why she's asking him like why he wants to become a fighter. He's like, because I can't sing and dance. Hey yo.
Hey yo. So he gets funnier throughout this
Oh
movie.
yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
But,
and then we could do like so we talked about, obviously this was the first one. There's like the follow-ons to this movie. We could do another like 3 episodes just on like, the other ones. So did you want to talk about who was your favorite in the Rocky franchise? Favorite Rocky villain?
Oh, that's so hard. I mean, because Ivan Drago is awesome.
Oh,
Because
God,
do you call Apollo Creed a villain?
In the first one, I do.
You call him a villain?
Let's call him an opponent.
Opponent. Okay, we'll go opponents. Yeah. Well, I mean, Apollo Creed probably is because he's because obviously in Rocky 2 they come back to him, they get the rematch. Yeah. That's my favorite part about Rocky 2. Immediately, it's 2 dudes in wheelchairs in the hospital after they do the that's the cool part about each of these is each movie starts with the fight scene of the last movie.
Yeah.
After the first one, obviously. Yeah. But then it immediately goes back to the hospital. They're both like real banged up.
Yeah,
but Apollo's like,
oh my God.
oh no. He's like, I want this rematch now. He's like, get out of your wheelchair. He tries to fight him in there because he's like so embarrassed that it was a split decision. Yeah. He's like, no, I want because he's like he basically doesn't want to be a bum.
Yeah. So I think it's literally an unknown guy almost beat him with little to no training.
But I think he's my favorite because then you have the rematch, and 2 Rocky obviously beats him, but then he comes back and he's in 3.
He's in 3.
And then he's actually in 4
for a time.
Yeah. So yeah, he's like
he's
probably one of the best characters in the movies franchise.
I still got to go Ivan Drago from 4.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's that whole movie's pure propaganda, but it's amazing.
Yeah. So so I will say about the sequels, 2 is like a excellent follow-up. It has the same tone, like we were talking about, like a drama, and there's boxing in it, right? 2 is like that too. It has a great story, great character development, and then there's boxing. Yeah, and it's like the same. It's like the follow-on, and then 3 is kind of like a circus. It's a fun movie.
Well, he fights Mr. T as Clubber Lang.
But earlier he does some like exposition where he fights Thunderlips, aka Hulk Hogan. And it's just like a wild ride.
It's
Mr. T.
Stallone wrote all of these. Yeah. Though. We were talking about this like just outside. Like he wrote all of them, and it was like 1, okay, great plot. 2, building off the first one, great plot. 4, standalone, great plot. 3, just close your eyes and just type whatever comes out. Basically, like it seems so disjointed from like all the other ones. I don't know.
So I think 1, 2, and 5 kind of have the same type of movie, right? Yeah. People hate on 5, and I say I like 5 all the way until the final street brawl, which is kind of unnecessary.
Where he fights Tommy Gunn. In a street. It's not even like in an arena. It's in a street boxes.
Yeah, it's outside the bar, which is, I mean, it's fine. Do I hate the movie because of it? No, I think there's actually cool parts about that movie, but it's like it brings it back to like the idea because 3 is just like a circus, and then 4 is like. It's like a Rogue One of Star Wars. It's like
ends the Cold War.
It's like a side character.
Yeah, he goes to Russia, fights a Soviet basically, kicks his ass American style, and then is like, what is the line that he says? Oh, he's like, I guess 2 guys in this ring killing each other is better than 20 million or something.
Yeah, we could do a whole episode on 4 because you got obviously Dolph Lundgren as Ivan, and then you have his wife Bridget Nielsen, who's actually Stallone's wife at the time. Yeah, which is wild.
It is pretty good.
But I mean, they're awesome.
Yeah, but that's like a whole we could go down on like a whole rabbit hole.
So that's like
with some
awesome
of
in
this
its own
stuff.
way. But yeah, I actually watched all the sequels recently just to watch them.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't seen them for a while. And yeah, I will say I like all of them. And I know there's some people who are like, oh, well, I don't like this one or this one or this one. And I'm like, well, dude, I don't know.
They all have their place. I think 3 is the hardest one for me to get through, but it's not a bad movie.
Yeah, I get it.
Stallone, I'm rooting for Stallone. I just think he's great.
Yeah. So he writes all 5 and then directs 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. He and then there was also, I guess, with the kind of forgotten script of 6, which I remember I was just telling you this like the other day.
Yeah.
So he had Stallone had a Rocky 6 script and it didn't end up working out, but man, if you can find it, you can look it up. For you listening, you can go and look it up. But man, I would have liked to have seen a Rocky 6. But
oh yeah, that would have been awesome.
Yeah, that would have been cool. And then you get into the Creed movies, which that's a whole other thing.
Dude, I love the Creed movies, and I just saw that I missed Creed 3 in theaters. I was actually gonna go. They had like this opening night thing, but it was like a Monday night at.
Oh yeah, it was
10,
like true.
I think
It was like if you're a real fan,
I was like,
you'll
dude,
go
I
to
don't
this.
know.
You'll quit your job.
But it just starts on Prime, so I'm ready to go, baby.
Bada
Creed
bing.
3.
Yeah,
but I
we'll
recommend
do,
I recommend watching the Creed movies if you haven't seen them. Did you see them?
I saw the first one.
Okay.
It was pretty good. They did a lot of because Stallone's back as Rocky. I think that's mainly why I watched it. I just never got around to watching 2 or 3, but
yeah, Michael B.
Jordan is great.
Kills.
Yeah, he's great. He is really good. He plays basically Apollo Creed's son.
Yeah, Adonis.
It's amazing.
What a great name.
Well, I think I'm just looking at the time now. Do you think that's good for Rocky?
Yeah, can I add? I'm going to add. I just wanted to add 2 things. One was Bill Conti does the soundtrack for this, and he wrote that song "Gonna Fly Now," and he also wrote the what's the song at the end? Going the Distance. So he wrote the soundtrack for that.
Yeah,
I think he's in 1, 2, and then they use his theme all throughout.
Yeah,
and that how the theme's different at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah,
that's never been recorded outside the movie. I found that out, which is kind of cool.
I thought that was like a budget issue.
Yeah, I forget. I don't know why it is, but that version of it, so the song that's played later on,
yeah, that's you can find that
the Rocky theme, but the one that's different at the beginning,
yeah,
has that higher pitched Yankee Doodle sound.
Yeah,
that's never been put on a soundtrack.
Cool. That's when Rocky shows up.
And then I just had the one inspiration, obviously, other than Rocky Marciano, was and this was a cool fact. He was watching. There was a title fight, Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner, and it was kind of like a very similar story. To Rocky. Chuck Wepner was a huge underdog. Yeah, he's called the Bayonet Bleeder.
That's a great name. That's a cool boxer name.
He puts down Ali in the fight unexpectedly, kind of like what Rocky does to Creed, and then he almost finishes the fight. He ends up getting TKO in the 15th. But it's very.
Was that his inspiration for
Rocky? So supposedly he was watching that fight, and that's when he started writing the script.
That's so
cool. He's not basing himself off Wepner.
Yeah,
but yeah, and then,
that's pretty cool though.
But there's a whole rabbit hole of boxing movies that I would like to talk about that we could go into and talk about. But yeah, that doesn't need to happen here.
Yeah, because I know we were talking about Raging Bull.
Yeah, Raging Bull, and then so I saw that there's a movie called. I think it's called Chuck, about that guy Chuck Wepner. And,
that's cool.
Lee Stryver plays him, and I guess it's his story. But I just saw that.
Yeah.
I never heard of that.
I'll have to watch that. Yeah. That would be pretty cool. Man, I just love Rocky overall. It was so good.
All right, so I have one last note here. Have you seen the movie Mean Streets?
I have not.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, that's a great early Scorsese. That's an awesome movie.
Is it a boxing movie?
No. It's Harvey Keitel and Robert De Niro. But Robert De Niro's character, for some reason, when I watched Rocky this time, he's got the same mannerisms, the same hat walking around. And then I read somewhere that he actually used that as inspiration, which is
that's pretty cool.
Kind of how they get that, how you're talking about that whole grittiness of the movie. When he's just walking around, that's kind of Mean Streets is New York. This is Philadelphia.
But it's the same. It was a same vibe,
dark, dirty underbelly vibe.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
That is cool. What year was that one out?
That's 73.
Okay, so it's obviously earlier than Rocky, but I'll have to add that to the list.
Yeah, I love that movie. But yeah, so I just love when there's a connection to something.
Yeah.
Did he actually use that inspiration? I don't know. Somebody said that he did. Somebody in an interview said they heard him say it. So
who's to say? I'll leave that up to the experts at Sylvester Stallone's home, who know him. Stupid. That was dumb. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad at all. Rocky freaking Balboa.
Yeah, what a man. And I will say this, to anyone out there that thinks Stallone is a stupid man, because I feel like that's a misconception. Like, it's like, oh, Rocky's stupid. Like,
yeah, it's like
you don't think this guy knows exactly what he did and all
Oh,
movies. And also, like, outside of this, like, he writes most of, like, I'm not gonna say maybe most, but he writes
a lot
many
of
the
stuff.
movies that he's in.
Yeah, I mean, I know he
Which is
wrote.
insane.
He did Rambo.
He did
like
the
he wrote
Rambos.
Rambo. That was another one that he did.
Yeah.
I mean, like that he wrote. I mean, he did a lot of other movies, but yeah, I always like Stallone. I think he's a cool dude.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
I'll watch anything with him in it.
Anything, but it's not weird.
It's not weird.
All right. Well, how about we wrap this one up?
All right.
Do you have any final remarks for Rocky?
No, you want to cue that music though?
All right. Yeah. I don't know what that was. Dump it. That was stupid. All right. I'll see you guys next time. This has been
What Are We Watching?